Sennheiser has been known for having a wide range of quality headphones like the fan favorites, the HD820s, which I think are the perfect mid-range headphone, all the way up to these. The HD820s, they're high-end audiophile grade headphones, the follow-up to one of my favorite headphones, the HD800Ss. Link to that review will be in the description, but today we're going to be focusing on the HD820s and their partner in crime, the HDV820 DAC amp. Before we get started with the review, let's just address the elephant in the room. Normally these go for $2,500 for the headphones and $2,400 for the DAC amp, but right now they are having a deal where you can get the headphones for $1,900 or the combo with the DAC amp for $3,500 total. And I know what you might be saying right now to yourself. Because I said the same thing too, but then I started wondering, why are these things so expensive? So I did a little digging and I found what separates this headphone from your grandpa's old Sony Walkman headset, but it's not without its flaws. Now first, when you think about a build of a high-end headphone, you start to think about wood, heavier metals, but Sennheiser has taken a different approach with their high-end line. It uses mostly a plastic design, but I have to say I prefer this design to the heavier in-game audiophile headphones out there. The HD820s are super lightweight, so you can wear these for hours on end while gaming or listening to music, which is a huge benefit over traditional in-game headphones. Now these are super durable as well. I've stepped on my HD800Ss more times than I'd like to admit, and they still look brand new, so I have confidence that these are going to last you 10 times over. These keep the same shape as the HD800Ss, but the ear cups are slightly bigger to hold the glass on the outside, and we'll get to how that helps the headphone later. The headband also has some metal up top with some markings to show you your settings. On the underside there's some padding there. It's crazy comfortable. I love the padding on these headphones. The ear cups are different than the HD800Ss as well. They now have a synthetic leather around the edges, and then the parts that touch your face are made up of microfiber. Fancy. It's comfortable, but they get a little bit hot, as you could imagine. They do block out a good amount of sound, but since these are so big, sound still manages to get in. Overall, I wish that they kind of kept the same padding from the HD800Ss because I'd take them any day over these. And now we gotta talk about that sexy futuristic glass on the side. The HD820s are a closed back headphone, and the concave piece of glass is designed in a way that causes the sound from the transductor to bounce off the glass. That will in effect make the sound disappear or vanish like in a traditional closed back headphone. Now, even though it is designed to keep sound in, these still leak a lot of sound. Let's drop a sound leakage test right about now. Although it does a better job than its little brother, the HD800Ss, which are an open back pair of headphones, so that's to be expected, they aren't going to be as good as something like an Audio-Technica or a Bear Dynamic with those like circular ear cups that are just like cup around your ear and just block out everything. Since these aren't fully closed, they will let in some noise as well, so I wouldn't recommend these for travel, but I wouldn't recommend it anyways because these are just so expensive. I wouldn't really want to take these out and be showing them off. That's just asking to get mugged, let's be honest. Now on to why these cost what they cost. Normally when you have a dynamic driver headphone, they'll have a cone transductor and a diaphragm that moves in and out like a piston, so it'll be like going like this, in and out. Oh yeah, that's kind of wrong, but at higher frequencies it may start to vibrate. You know, you'll get some rattling, you'll get some distortion. And so Sennheiser's response to this was making their own ring radiator transductor that reduces vibration greatly, leading to a cleaner sound with little to no distortion. Some companies will try to combat this by trying to make a heavier transductor, but this slows down the headphone. So that's why some dynamic headphones, they'll be really slow and sluggish. They're not gonna be as clear. They're not gonna have that detail in it because the transductor can't even keep up because it's so heavy. Now in the box they've included two different cables, a 1/4 inch and a balance cable. I always go with the balance because it'll give you equal if not better sound than the single-ended jack. So Sennheiser tried to do something interesting. They tried to make a closed back, open back headphone, trying to essentially give us all the benefits of an open back headphone, like the extended soundstage and the separation with increased detail, but in a closed back form, which in theory should give us greater lower end. But here comes the flaw of this headphone. As you can see from the frequency chart here, the mids are recessed, and you know me, I love the mids where the vocals reside. Now, while there is a lot of detail and openness to this headphones, the vocals just aren't powerful at all. It leaves me wanting more. You can combat this though by using an equalizer. The one I'm using is the piece equalizer, and this allows you to bring back the dip in the mids like I have here, but you can only push it so far before it just starts to break and it just doesn't sound good. It starts to sound artificial. I actually find that my flatter HD820's sound profile responds better to EQing than on the HD820s. And those are actually god tier for gaming, while these are just kind of so-so because of the closer or closed in soundstage. Overall, the HD820s though are better for musically, like going back to the HD820's, they just sound way flatter to me. The bass is here, but it doesn't give me that satisfying rumble that I would really expect. I really want to feel like a kick to the side of my head, and while it does happen every once in a while, you're just like, ooh, oh yeah, there it was. It just feels inconsistent, and it doesn't happen nearly enough for me as a bass lover. So lately, when it comes to DAC amps, I've realized for the most part that the difference in sound is very minimal, but the output power is where they vary. I find this to be especially true when it comes to solid state amps like the HDV820s. It doesn't color your music in any way, but instead just brings out the best of whatever track you're listening to, and it makes the sound as close as possible to the original recording. I see the most difference when I switch between tube amps as opposed to when I'm doing a solid state amp, because solid state amps are pretty sterile to me. There's no like, oh my god, wow. It's just kind of like, this just powers my headphones, it does its job, that's it. Very cookie cutter. The HDV820s have all the inputs you would want, like DSD, USB, optical out, unbalanced, and a balanced out. On the front, you have a ton of outputs like the 1/4 inch jack, the balance jacks, and more. It has a knob to easily switch between all the inputs and a big dial for the volume. While the HDV820 is a great amp, I can't feel like there's diminishing returns after a certain point with amps. If you are thinking about getting this amp or already have it, I would get a tube amp like a Loxjai P20 or something to give this some warmth and color to your HD820s. Overall, I want to love the HD820s, but I feel like it's more of a like instead, as I still prefer my HD820's to these headphones in most cases. Rap, pop, rock are all just, they're good, but they're not great. But these do shine in classical music compared to the HD820's because it doesn't have that harsher high end. And if you're a person that likes to keep their music listening pure with no equalizer or no tampering, you might want to skip the HD8 series completely, because you really have to EQ these to get them to where you want them. They have a lot of potential. It's like they give you a really good headphone and they're like, here, make them your own, but you have to do it. We're not gonna do it for you. For me personally, I do it all the time, but there are some people out there that just like a stock headphone. For most of you guys out there, I still think the HD58Xs or the 660s will satisfy most of you when it comes to general music listening for a fraction of the price, and they can be easily powered. Alright guys, so that's gonna do it for this review on the HD820s. If you made it to this part of the review, I love you. Don't forget to hit that like button on the way out. It really helps the channel. It has been your boy BT saying